Hello, EWE fans. This is Dustin J. Markowitz coming to you, taped as always from the gem along the Colorado River, Laughlin, Nevada, bringing you yet another edition of your favorite talk show, Behind Enemy Lines. And joining me as always is my partner in crime. He's the Kentucky Hot Plate, and of course, you know him as the voice of Union College, the one and only John North. John, what's up, buddy?
It's good to be back with Behind Enemy Lines.
It's been way too long.
Way too long. And since it's about to be the EW's, 50th anniversary or whatever, it's time for us to dust off the microphones and go at it one more time.
Absolutely. It's been, gosh, I think WrestleMania of last year, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, I think so. Do we have a bunch of people on that show or something? It was like me, you, Mark, and D, and I don't remember, but it was a cluster. It was a cluster. I remember that.
Yeah, it was something else. I promise we're not going to go 2.5 hours on this show one way. Hopefully.
But probably.
Probably.
But probably. Oh.
Before we jump into everything, for those of you who are new that have not heard our show or don't know who we are, I'm Dustin M., Dustin Markowitz. I handle Dutch Clark, Dustin Jobber, a plethora of others over the years in EWE. John, he handles currently Leon Kashmir, Sid Vicious. So basically, you're listening to your two top stars as of the recording of this, which is January 21st, by the way, currently in Extreme Wrestling Entertainment. And we have done this show, gosh, I think the first one we did was, 2 years ago, 3 years ago?
Yeah, I think so. We used to do it like monthly or weekly, and then we kind of went our separate ways. You know, you had stuff to do and I had stuff to do, and then we kind of did a monthly thing. And now it's kind of like a surprise for everybody because I don't think anybody knows that we're uploading this except Jay.
Yeah, I don't even think Jay really knows we're uploading this yet.
No, he doesn't. You're right. So he'll be happy.
Jay loves the show, and both John and I are in broadcasting. As I said, John is the voice of Union College, the Union Bulldogs, and all their sports there. Myself, I host the Bowling Evolved podcast, which is my bowling talk show I've been doing for the last couple of years. And, you know, it's really kind of a side project for me as well because my real job, I work in an office for Heat Guard. And, John, well, I think you're just a bum. So, I mean, I don't think you do anything really.
No, it isn't. My voice of the Bulldogs is a career. My official title is the Director of Sports Broadcasting and External Relations. So I have an office, too.
Oh, okay. I'm just double checking there. But enough about us. Let's jump right into it. Obviously, it's been quite a long time since we've done a show, and we've done a lot of different formats. We had a series where we actually talked to the handlers, which was a lot of fun. We did a series where we did reviews of shows, but I think this week we're going to talk about this month or this year, whatever we decide this broadcast number this is going to be. We are going to talk about the show that is on everyone's mind, the one and only AnniVersary X, the 10th anniversary of EWE opening its doors 10 years ago. I'll tell you, John, it's pretty amazing. I know you and I have both been part of EWE. We both actually were there in the beginning. Myself, not even with any of our regular characters, at least myself personally. I used Will Westbrook, and I believe you were RVD at the time.
Yeah, I brought in RVD, and I quickly wrote him off with an injury because you and I and another EFED brought in the tag team of Derek and David Daniels. So once we did that, and I kind of got the feel for Derek, it was the first character I kind of wrote RVD off with an injury and brought in DDD.
I remember that quite well. I remember after a little while I brought in Jack Michaels in 2005, which that was kind of my last hurrah, and then you basically established yourself with DDD, and really we have been there through several of the different eras and kind of made our mark in Fed, which has been, perfectly honest with you, I'm very proud of. I think EWE has been a very good fit for us, and it's been something that's been a lot of fun along the way.
Yeah, and you know, it's really fun for me because reflecting back, you haven't been in as many EFEDs as I have over the last couple of years in the new era, per se. But you know, it's really stood the test of time, and all the EFEDs I've been to, I've enjoyed a lot of the ones I've been to, and EWE just kind of always is home to me in a place where, you know, even though I've got a career and a job now, I really like to go back and escape, and that's not something I want to do in other Feds.
Sure. And I totally agree with you. You know, my career kind of went a I was going to say, if this was the late 90s, God, I'm getting old. If this was the late 90s, early 2000s, I guess it would be a little bit different story. But yeah, EWE has been my home. When I made my comeback in 2010, I had a lot of offers, and gosh, I'm just thinking of some of the different feds over the last 3 or 4 years, and I really had no interest. EWE is always the one that I had the most fun in. There's been some shortcomings, and it's been there, and you're right, it stood the test of time, and I just want to say, first and foremost, big congratulations to Jay. It's very hard to run a Fed for a year, let alone for 10. And I think it's one of the few Feds left that really came in towards the end of the first boom, since EWE's roots, I believe, actually started in 2003, technically as a WWE Fed, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah. I think you're right about it. Well, I know Jay handled a WWE Fed because I was in it as the Hurricane. So, but yeah, there's a couple more. I know ECWF. They've been around about 7 to 10 years around that, but they do not have the base that EW has, because EW has a bunch of handlers that's been there forever. So kudos to all the handlers as well. But yeah, Jay deserves his props for keeping the doors open so long and providing a place for us to go and have our creative relief.
Absolutely, and you're absolutely right about the handlers too. It is very amazing. Even in my first run, so to speak, it is very rare to come across a Fed, whether it was a play-by-mail Fed. Yes, I am old enough to remember those. Some other Feds out there that were message board or whatever the case was, chat room Feds. I actually was involved with a couple of those, and generally speaking, back then you were in a Fed for, maybe 6 months, a year. Generally speaking, no more than, I would really say no more than 6 months to a year before you moved on. And you had to see EWE where you have a guy like, for example, Mike, who's been in the Fed literally for 10 years. You've had you and I who have been in it off and on for 10 years. Jay, obviously. Luke was a big part of the Fed for a long time. I know Chris just came back. Mark,
Yep.
as much as love as he gets from everyone, I'm sure I'm forgetting people that stop in from time to time as well. But it's really a testament to what the Fed has meant to us, and it's hard to explain. It's not. I'm actually at a loss for words when people ask me why I love EWE so much, because there are shortcomings. I mean, there's no doubt about that, but there's just something about it that, you're right, it's home.
Yeah, absolutely. And like I wrote this on the out of character board the other day. I was, I go to any Fed I want. I always shoot. This is maybe a humble brag if you want to call it, but I always go close to the top in every Fed I go to. But I just find myself wanting to come back to EWU just because of the community, just because I troll a lot, but. I like everybody, and I like role-playing with everybody. Everybody is really easy to work with, and Jay, I think, is one of the best judges role-playing-wise that I know of within the Fedding universe, honestly.
Completely agree with that. That's one of the things I find very attractive about EWE, that he believes in the old-school mentality of role-playing, but still being innovative. I know a lot of Feds that I've looked at, including some of the ones you've been in, John, have put much more emphasis on how long can we make a role play, how much description can we do without actually talking about the match. And
yeah.
In fact, match writing, from what I've seen, is almost discouraged, trash talk and things like that.
Yeah, most places now, they'll you can't, I know when I was in GIW, you couldn't rebuttal to what your opponent said. So if your opponent said something about you, you couldn't rebuttal it in your RP, which is weird because I come from an old school standpoint. But then again, I just put that in my arsenal because it made me more creative. So anywhere I go has pitfalls, but you just got to use it to make yourself a better writer.
Sure, and I don't necessarily like the idea of not being able to be a rebuttal writer. I feel, again, this is the old school, and John, as my student, I'm sure some of what I've taught you has rubbed off. I'm hoping over
yeah.
the past. Let's see, gosh, it's probably been, 2001, 2002, somewhere in there?
I think so, yeah. I'd have to go back and look, but I think so.
But yeah, I really believe that that's one thing I've always felt, is that what makes a EFED an EFED was that, it's about promos, and that's what I was based on when I came in during the first boom. And if you want to go back to our archive of shows, which I believe Jay has posted, you can listen to us talk about how fedding has changed. But yeah, it's just like I said, EWE has that blend, and I really hope that, this is the first year of another 10. I would love to see EWE continue on.
Yeah, I mean, I'm going to be 25 years old here on the East Coast in about 30 minutes, and, I don't want to stop. And I
Spoiler!
thought,
Spoiler!
yes, spoiler alert. But, yeah, I mean, it's like, even though I've got this career now, I don't want to, like, I want to EFED more than I did when I wasn't doing anything, more than I did when I was a student. And I just find that odd that, that's my creative release now. That I want to just, go there and write. I mean, that's my pastime. That's what I enjoy doing. So I'm going to keep doing it until EW closes its doors.
Absolutely, and that's why I came back myself. It's just fun, plain and simple. It's a good way to relieve tension, and if you've read anything by Derek Daniels or Leon Kashmir or Dutch Clark or Jack Michaels, you know that we tend to put some very passionate words behind what we have to say as far as our characters go. But enough of that. Let's jump into the actual show. Again, I don't want to go 2.5 hours. The Mark show. We'll just call it that. But
yeah, I don't think Jay liked that show too much.
Well, let's jump right into it again. We're going to talk about the AnniVersary X card, which I believe is going to be very exciting. And, of course, we're not going to talk about the matches in order because I don't think John and I have ever done anything in order in our entire lives.
I think you're 100% correct about that.
So, like it or not, here we go. The match that I am very interested in, looking at the card right now, and I know a lot of people have been talking about it, is the Legends Battle Royal, which is an open invite to any Hall of Fame member. And I'll tell you what, John, it's going to be intriguing to see who actually is going to show up for this match. I know BJ's been on the board, and I've got into it with him a little bit already, just having some fun. We know Chris is there. Of course, yourself, Mike, Jay, me. There's a lot of Hall of Famers that have handled just some tremendous characters over the years. And I'm very curious to see who's going to put the role plays into this match.
That, or what if nobody shows up? So, I mean, I'm sure Jay is going to show up with somebody. I mean, I don't want to spoil anybody, but he's told me a couple things. So I don't know if I'm going to bring anything with Derek Daniels, but I really, really want to see Sean Lewis post something. I really want to see BJ post something because I was a big fan of BJ. But way back when, I was actually very jealous of BJ because he was so good back in the day, and I didn't think I was as good as he was. So I really want to see him bring it and win that. But Jay was talking earlier that you remember Spider from EW. He popped on earlier, and he's in the Hall of Fame. So
yes.
maybe he'll pop a role play up.
That would be incredible. I'll tell you what, I've been contemplating even bringing in Jack Michaels for the same, believe it or not.
Uh-oh.
Depends kind of on my time, but Jack Michaels was someone to be reckoned with. You know a little bit about that.
Yeah, kind of.
Tell you what, it'd be interesting to have an MMSW reunion in that Battle Royal.
It would be. That would be cool. Have them team up or something.
That would be interesting. Yeah, there's a lot of potential. I'm just kind of looking at the listing of Hall of Famers that could be in there right now that are active. Yourself, Derek Daniels, 4-time EWE Undisputed Champion, Tag Team Champion, member of what I consider one of the greatest tag teams of all time, Style and Pride. Props right there. A lot of great talent. You have myself with Dutch Clark and Jack Michaels. I can talk all day about myself, so I'm not going to go into that. We have White Tiger, of course, by Mike. Brooke McGuire, also by Mike, which both are very good characters. It'd be interesting to see if he decides to put either of them in. I'll say this real quick. I don't foresee putting Dutch Clark into this match. I think my tag match and the Undisputed title match are going to be pretty much the focus of my attention. So I wouldn't expect to put Dutch in there. So just a little preemptive to anyone.
So that means you're going to bring Dutch into the Battle Royal.
Exactly. You'll see Dutch breaking the record. No. So yeah, I don't foresee using him. But again, BJ with Sean Lewis would be fantastic. He was a great talent. I got a chance to face off with him at Night of Terror 2. A lot of fun in that match. In fact, that was probably the last, even though I know he had a few matches after that, I think that was the last one he really did a full appearance for.
Yeah, I think yeah.
And I was very proud to say that I did that. I know that there's been another Hall of Famer that pokes his head in from time to time. Yaz has been poking his head in, and he may be bringing in one of his characters. I know that Luke still pops his head in from time to time. He may bring in one of his characters. Who knows? These are guys that they may not be in the Fed every single day, but you do see them pop up on the boards. It'd be fun to see Spider come back. I really enjoyed Spider's role plays.
I would love to see somebody like James. I don't think he's in the Hall of Fame, but James Sino or or somebody like that, or somebody random like Rick Cage show up.
That'd be
I may make a Rick Cage on the board and try to join the battle royal, and the whole role play would just be Rick Cage trying to get in the arena.
That is so funny. I actually was talking to Jay a few days ago, and I was thinking the same thing about maybe doing a Rick Cage role play. I thought that would be hilarious.
But yeah, I mean, if I had to pick a winner in that one, I'm gonna say, I would if BJ shows up, I'm gonna say BJ wins it.
Hard for me to argue that. It's hard to make a prediction, obviously, because you don't know who is or who isn't.
Yeah.
Obviously, if it's something you or I are going to show up in, and we both know we are going to, I'm sure you would choose, Triple D, and I would choose Jack Michaels. But in this case, I'm not 100% sure if I will have Jack be in it or not. I know that I've heard, again, some stuff from Jay. I'd love to see one of Jay's characters show up. So I'll go with you, John. I'll go with BJ if he shows up. I think that would be a fun person to win. I'd like to see a legitimate Sean Lewis roleplay. And another one that might be a possibility, too, I just totally spaced him. Abdul's got a few characters I would...
Oh, yeah. I forgot about that, too, yeah.
And even though he hates writing as him anymore because it puts him in a bad place, I would die to see a Muhammad Hassan roleplay. That would
be Oh, that would be great. I would like that.
Moving on, we have, again, a big card here, so we're going to go over as much as we can. We have the Frost Elves versus the ALA, which is an interesting match for a couple reasons. I like the concept of the Frost Elves. I find the characters very fun. I know, John, we have a little bit of a difference of opinion on the Stealth Elf character, but I think they actually have a pretty good dynamic. I enjoy seeing JC and Mike role play together, and I think Mike is actually rubbing off a bit on JC, so it should be interesting.
We do, and we do have a difference of opinion, but this is a positive podcast. This is the 10-year anniversary podcast, so I'm not going to be negative on this podcast. Bad. But I really enjoy the Mizor character. Is that how you say it?
We have argued back and forth. Jay and I, again, just had an argument the other day of how to pronounce this, which, coincidentally, I will bring this up real fast. Okay, the Fugit controversy.
Yeah, that was... I knew that one.
You're going to love this. Erica, coincidentally, anyone that is listening, Erica is my quasi-girlfriend these days, as everyone seems to wonder. She actually shows up on the board as Forks. That would be my girlfriend. She looked at the Sunshine that I mentioned in one of my Dustin Jobber RPs, and we're talking on the phone, and she says, Dustin, is that pronounced Fugati? See? I'm not the only one.
Who would pronounce it like that? Nobody pronounces it like that.
Maybe that's why we're together. I don't know.
Maybe, but it's not the correct way to pronounce it.
So, the Fugati sisters, anyway. No, but I think it is Mizor, or
I say Mizor. That's how I pronounce it.
In my head, I say Missouri, so I could be wrong. I don't know.
Whatever. Well, regardless, I think that's kind of replaced Kelsey Parr as my favorite Mike character here lately. I really enjoy that character. I think once JC kind of, like you said, once Mike rubs off on JC a little more, I think you're going to see more of the Missouri character in Stealth Elf, except maybe a little more polished than Stealth Elf is at the moment.
Did you just say Missouri, by the way?
No, I said Missouri.
Oh, I thought you said Missouri.
Maybe I did. I don't know. But I think I'll put it nicely. I think you'll see a little bit more of a polished Stealth Elf after that.
Very good. And damn you, Mike, for choosing these names no one can pronounce. I mean, come on.
That's just one. Fugit is an easy name to pronounce.
Fugate. I will say this. I think
oh boy.
I know you and I tend to disagree on this character. I actually like the concept because I think JC has sort of embraced that people see this person as a midget or a dwarf. And I like that he's able to put fantasy and reality together. For example, if he's facing a guy like Dutch Clark, Dutch is going to think this is some freak in a green bodysuit. That's pretty much but he embraces that, and that's something that I think is a very mature way to role play, because he's able to turn what technically should be a negative into a positive. With that being, go ahead. Sorry.
I told you this in a personal conversation, but I thought that was okay when it was Sonic, but now it's kind of the same thing with Stealth Elf, so it's kind of just rehashing the whole Sonic thing, except with a different character per se.
That is true. It's an interesting catch-22, but again, I like the character, and I agree with you. I think Missouri is a very fun character. I love the magazine, the article he does. What is it, the Ice Sheet?
Oh yeah, absolutely. I read that every time. I look forward to that, believe it or not. That's one of the things I look forward to. I love little tiny stuff like that about eFeds because it gets me fired up about stuff. Like today, I told Jay I couldn't wait till he got the banners up for the threads because it just gets me fired up to roleplay.
Absolutely, and I really enjoy his writing on that. Now, the ALA, I really don't know a lot about the tag team itself. Again, as people well know, I don't follow Ladies Night as close as I probably should. John, since you are now the Ladies Night champion, what can you tell me about the ALA?
That's pretty funny, but I don't really follow it that much either because I'm even though I'm the champion on there, I don't really get time to read a lot of role plays or read a lot of results, so I'm not very sure either. Who is ALA again?
That is a good question. I am not 100% sure. I was supposed to throw that to you. We just got caught in a bad area. Let's see here.
You could easily check that.
Why is it my responsibility? You're my partner. You're supposed to make
because I don't have anything in front of me. You have your laptop in front of you.
You have your pad. Like, you can't look at the site.
Well, I'm afraid if I back out of Skype, it's going to hang up.
Okay. I think it's actually Audrey Marie and...
I thought they were the BFFs.
No. I think it's... Or is that the BFF? Or maybe it's... No, maybe it's... No. Maybe it's Zelina and... Or is it Xena? Hell, I don't know. I have no idea.
The warrior princess, Xena?
Maybe. I don't... Okay, whoever listens as a Ladies Night fan, maybe you can fill us in, because honestly, this is not going to go well at all. And I apologize to whoever handles them. It is not personal, I assure you. Well, at least I knew who the BFFs were.
That's true. I knew who the BFFs were, but I don't... What does ALA stand for?
I don't know.
I'm just really... It's really nothing personal. I'm just having a brain fart right now.
Yeah, I know I've read stuff from the ALA before. I don't know if I've ever judged anything, though. Okay, well, moving on. I'm gonna because I don't know who they are, I'm gonna go with the Frost Elves for my pick.
Yeah, absolutely. Mike, like I said, he does a really good job with Missouri, so I'm gonna go with him. He'll carry JC.
Possibly. Next match on the card is a very interesting match. Annie Midnight Fugate
Oh my God.
versus Abby Addiction, which I find this interesting for a couple of reasons. One, I think that Mike's Midnight is the weaker of the two sisters. I've maintained that for a long time. But two, I think Abby is kind of in between purposes right now, and I'm almost wondering if Abby Addiction will get shuffled to the back burner with Jay's schedule this month. I'm not saying that's absolutely the case, and I would say in a regular match, I would say Abby was, I wouldn't say far superior, but definitely a superior character to Annie. Obviously, Abby's done a lot more in EWE, but I don't know. I think you might see an upset here.
I agree with you because I think Mike has put more into the Sunshine Jessica.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I think he's put kind of more into her than the Annie character because I think he likes the Jessica character a little more. But yeah, with Jay, what Jay's got going on, I really think that she can pull it. My bad, but whatever. You know what I'm talking about. That Mike could pull it off against Jay. I would go with the upset pick here. That'd be a good upset pick.
And it's not. I hate to say that to him, Mike. Don't take that the wrong way. That's not an upset saying that you're
No, but character-wise.
character-wise, absolutely. Which isn't to say Mike doesn't have a full plate either, but I believe Jay is going to have a little bit more on his plate considering the Battle Royal, because I do believe he is going to be entering in with several characters. So, or that's the rumor. We'll see what happens.
Yeah, I agree with that. That's probably a good pick.
Moving on, we have the EWE Televixen Championship, Holly Winder versus Callista Leon. This is really a match I don't have a lot of interest in, only because I'm not super enthralled with either of these characters. That's nothing personal, and it's not even that they're ladies' night characters. It's just I'm not very... They don't impress me either which way. Holly is probably the one I can read a little bit more. I find both their story arcs are kind of bland. I think Holly very much leeches off of Kelsey and White Tiger to the point where it's almost like she's a... What's the best way to put this, John? Like I like an NPC. Does that make sense? Do you see what I'm going with that?
Yeah, and I'll say this from my point of view. You know how much I hated his Brooke McGuire character?
Yes.
Holly's getting there for me. Because I think she's just kind of replaced that Brooke character, not from a character standpoint or writing standpoint, but just kind of falling into that same mode that Brooke fell in. I look at Kelsey, and I can feel Mike with that character of how strongly he wants to succeed with her and how strongly she wants to succeed. And I can feel that in his writing, and I just don't feel that with anything he does with Holly. If that makes sense.
Completely agree with you. And it just... The funny part is, from the other side of the coin, the Callista Leon character, it's bland. It's very bland, and I find... There's nothing exciting to me or palatable about this match, so it's... This is a tough one for me to really judge. And I believe Callista is Mary, if I'm not mistaken.
No, it's John.
Or John. I'm sorry, I meant John.
Yeah.
I meant John. And John, again, like I look at his stuff with Psychotica or John Steele, and he falls into this line where there's too much, in my opinion, dialogue, not enough description. Which is funny coming from an old school role player, because a lot of, John and you and I both, a lot of our role plays are driven by dialogue interaction, but there's something very flat about at least this character, and I just don't see it. I don't see Callista gain a victory, but even with that being said, I don't see Holly putting up anything really spectacular either.
I will say this, John as Callista gave me a run with Sid really early on in my role plays with Sid Vicious. But that being said, his last role play against me was very... I look at it like he uses his speech as filler, if that makes sense. Yeah. I think that's why you think that way. Because his speech, it gets repetitive towards the end, and he kind of says the same thing over and over, and I think that's why it seems bland. And the first role play I had against me, if you go back and read it, it's actually really good with Callista. And then now it's kind of, I think he tried too hard to get the win against me, if that makes sense.
Sure, it's almost like if you did a role play, rather than writing until you felt it was done, it was like he added more in, as opposed to someone like you or I would write maybe a different scene or maybe something that would blend, as opposed to trying to continue something that doesn't need to be continued.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, with that being said, I'm going to take Holly in this one as well. I think it's going to be close.
Going up the card, we have the EWE Mid-Eastern Championship, which is D-Dog defending his title versus Randy Orton and Eli the Kid. This one is a very interesting match as well, only because I don't know what D-Dog, what Randy Orton, or what Eli to expect here. If you get A games, D-Dog has got to be the favorite. If you get B games, that's tough. That's real tough, because I don't think D-Dog really has a B game. It's either he brings it or he brings nothing.
Yeah, I agree with that 100%. If it's not, if you're dependent on D-Dog, say, he doesn't show, which has happened, with his schedule, then, I gotta take Mary with Orton. over Eli with a slight edge. But I mean, you gotta say that D-Dog's going to bring it just for argument purposes, and I'll pick him just on base that he's going to bring it.
I will agree with that. I will also say this, though. I do not like the direction of the Randy Orton character right now. I think it's gone too fantasy, not enough substance. The early Randy Orton stuff I thought was very good, but the later stuff, especially the match against Dustin Jobber, for example, I think was too... I know it's going to sound funny, but too dark, if that makes sense at all.
Yeah, that makes sense.
I think Eli has made jumps and strides to improving his character. I mean, from where I saw Eli in 2010 to where I see him now, it's two totally different writers. So I agree with you. Again, I think D-Dog is going to be the way to go, but I would say if D-Dog does not show, I'd say the dark horse of that match is going to be Eli.
Absolutely, and that's not saying I think I think Eli can get it done, but yeah, I'm going to go with D-Dog on the because if he shows up, he's going to win in my opinion. Because like you said, when he shows up, he brings it, and he's pretty good when he brings it. But when he doesn't show, he just doesn't show at all.
Yeah, and I will say I do like the new direction of the character with D-Dog. I like that he dropped the Ebonics. I like that he dropped the hood part of the character and did a much more real to me. What feels much more real and followable. And it's one of the things that really bothered me about the early D-Dog role plays, and John, we've discussed this in private conversation, is that when you try to do too much street, it takes away from being able to read what you're trying to convey.
Yeah.
And that's a problem. That's a big problem. And I think he's really done a good job in the last few months changing the character around to a point where I'm impressed with him. I think he's done an excellent job. So hopefully we'll see that in that match. Moving up the card, we have the next match, which is sort of a throwback match. The Hollywood Blondes taking on the Bella Twins. Of course, my first reaction was Steve Austin and Brian Pillman. What?
Yeah, I thought so. I thought the same thing. I was like, oh, Jay's really throwing back here with going with some old school Steve Austin. And I was like, well, Brian Pillman's dead, so I guess
They're bring up his corpse.
Yeah, they're gonna bring up his corpse, I guess. But yeah, with the Hollywood Blondes, you get what you get with what I said about Brooke earlier. But yeah. Jay is pretty damn good with Christy all the way around. And since EW has returned, it's been one of his strongest characters that I've seen him go with in a while. So he could easily carry that match. The Bella Twins, you don't know if Mary's going to show up with the Bella Twins or not. I know I had a handicap match against her, and she didn't even show up with a second role play. So, but you're going to be more consistent going with the Blondes. I think this is an easy one.
Completely agree. I like Mary. I think Mary has talent as a writer. I just think she suffers from what a few different people suffer from in EW, which is sawing themselves off. Yeah, you're looking at two Hall of Famers. Even Brooke at her worst is still light years ahead, in my opinion, of where Mary is currently with the Bella Twins. It's a no contest. Unless Jay or Mike don't show up, that's a no contest.
Yep, absolutely.
Going up the card, we have the EWE Tag Team Championship Royalty featuring Alessandro Quagliatore, I think that's how you pronounce it, versus Abdul Q and Abdul Q.
That's what Derek calls him. That's what Derek calls him. He refuses to call him by anything else.
And Leon Kashmir versus the Sons of Liberty, which are CM Punk and Cliff Morgan. Now, obviously, I have to go with my boys from MPI, Sons of Liberty, Cliff Morgan handled by the returning Scar, and CM Punk handled by Jay. In a perfect world, I guess I do have to have some neutrality here. I can't just pick my team, but I would say on paper I would definitely give the edge to Royalty without a doubt, only because I don't feel Scar at this point is at the same level as Abdul, John, and Jay, which isn't to say she hasn't shown some real sparks of talent, which is why she got the shot at the Undisputed title. Unfortunately, and this is something I think would be very hard to argue, she has a tendency to miss out opportunities by not allowing herself enough time to write. And if there's one cardinal mistake with any E-Fed and any character is that if you don't finish the thought, you're not going to win.
But yeah, I don't think as well. I don't think Angie is, or Scar rather. I don't think she is as polished with the Cliff Morgan character either as she is with the other characters that she has. I look at it as literally. I think of Cliff as the last on the totem pole for her.
I don't know if I would go that far. I think Cliff is interesting, but I agree in that I don't believe the Cliff character is nearly as good as the Angie character or even the Josie Wales character. Plus, you got to take into consideration she's had 3 or 4 weeks off now, and after, unfortunately, we understand personal issues, but a pitiful showing at the last pay-per-view, it's going to be interesting. It's going to be tough. So I don't see it happening.
That, and you kind of look over the fact that Abdul has really carried me over the last, and I'm not used to that, but he's carried me over the last, 3 tag team matches we've had. So, his riding is really hot right now, and I think, that's something that I'm definitely going to ride going into the pay-per-view.
Yes. Yeah, no one's ever carried you in a tag team, ever.
Oh, shut up.
I had to throw that out there, Johnny.
That was funny.
Anyway, also, it is after midnight on the East Coast. Happy birthday, John!
Thank you. Thank you, the Big 2-5.
And let me even say this, we have a studio audience listening today. Say hi, studio audience.
Hello!
Allow me to introduce Erica, who is Forks on the EWE board, a legitimate fan for EWE. Go figure. How often does that happen, John?
Rarely. But I do love the username.
Thank you.
Do you want to explain your username?
Yeah, well, it's part of my last name, kind of, so I kind of shortened it. It's my nickname that they gave me at work, and it kind of just stuck with me, and yeah.
For those who don't know, Erica is actually the daughter of my broadcast partner from the Bowling Evolve talk show, and it's, the Forks, it's great. I love that, so. I wanted to go with the Fork, but apparently she told me to fork off.
Oh.
Hey!
Oh, my God.
So, on that note, moving up the card. That was a terrible joke, I know. That was bad.
You may need to edit in some laughter on that one. I don't know if you can do that.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Moving up the card. We have the EWE Shining Star Championship when Raven takes on Trish Stratus. We actually just discussed this a couple days ago, the Raven character, and this is another one from JC that has gotten a lot of attention. I honestly have not read enough from Raven to offer an opinion. Outside of the few matches I have judged, it seems like it is, relatively polished. I don't know, John. It's hard for me to really offer an opinion. Of course, Trish Stratus, we all know, is Jay's Hall of Fame character. I think Trish has gone into a very interesting direction with the face turn. I didn't think I'd live to see the day that Trish in EWE would be face again. So this is a very interesting match. So I'm a little confused. I don't know which way to go. It depends on if Jay brings it or not, I think.
Yeah, and we were talking about it because I actually had to judge one of the JC's matches with Raven, and I was going into it really thinking, because, JC is really big on, and I know this is, obviously fantasy wrestling, but he's really big on fantasy aspects of, role-playing, and, something I can also, I can see that because I used to do that way back when I was younger, but, yeah, he's really good with that character. I think he really gets that character. It's a lot of fun to read, honestly. I gave Raven a really good review in the match that I judged. So, not too big of a fan of Jay's Trish, but like you said with Raven, I haven't read a lot of Trish Stratus. I don't think I've read more than maybe 2 role plays from Jay as Trish. So, on that note, I'm gonna take Jay just because I know that he's really good with that character. But I think it's gonna be a close match.
I agree. I think it will be close. I'm going to go with Trish, too. Obviously, I was in the feud with the Queens of Wrestling and had the great little... One of my favorite moments was the Dutch kind of snapping and putting her in the hospital. That, to me, was a very fun thing to write. Abusing women apparently amuses me. I'm not really... sure about that. Maybe Erica should be scared. I'm not sure yet, but
There's some kind of underlying psychology. What am I trying to say? I almost said psychology issues for whatever reason. But yeah, there's some underlying issues with Dutch and beating women.
It does seem that way, and it happens quite. You ever realize though, it's not so much Dutch that instigates these things; it tends to be the women instigating it with Dutch.
That's true.
So yeah, I'm gonna go with Trish as well. Moving up the card, EWE All-American Championship, Alessandro taking on CM Punk in their return match. We've talked about both these characters before. I love CM Punk. I think he does a great job. However, as good as he is right now, I would agree with John's assessment that Abdul is probably the strongest role player in the Fed right now.
Yep, 100%. He is on fire, and he's been like that since. I remember him and I had a match, and he said he was going to no-show, and he wanted himself to be, he wanted himself just to lay down in result. And I wrote the match, and I just had Kashmir just demolish him. And ever since that, he's kind of turned it on. I know he no-showed. I know that's how he got beat against Jay for the All-American title. So ever since that, Jay said he's really turned it on, and I think he keeps it up throughout. I think the tag team has also rejuvenated him a little bit, and it's just going to lead over to that All-American title match.
Again, completely agree. I honestly think that over the last about, I guess it was, 2-3 months, we had a little reign. Like, Kashmir was the real hot ticket. Or, well, obviously, beginning of the year, Christie was the real hot ticket. Then it was Kashmir, and then it was Dutch, and right now it's definitely Alessandro. I would really be interested to see if Alessandro wins the WMD, if he is able to. I honestly, I don't doubt my ability to beat anyone, but I will tell you right now, out of everyone in the Fed currently, with excluding yourself, John, he is probably the person that I would have the most difficulty with beating right now to defend the title.
Absolutely, but the thing, I'm not very scared of it, Abs, because every time we face, somehow I seem to beat him, so I'm not too scared of him. Well, but I understand where you're coming from. He is absolutely the hottest. He's the hottest rider in the Fed right now.
Exactly. Well, I was going to say my win-loss against Abs is just as good as yours. I think it's him against the entire MMSW, frankly, because he has losses to pretty much everyone that we've been associated with.
Yeah. But he is on fire right now, and he's going to be tough to beat, I think, from here until WrestleMania.
Definitely agree. Moving up the card, we have the semi-main event, if you will, the EWE Divas Championship, which is Sid Vicious taking on Mickie James. There is no doubt in my mind that Sid Vicious is your very best in the Fed right now, John. I think that the Sid character has developed in a way that no one really saw coming. The tag match we just had with White Tiger and Mickie James, I think, really showcased your ability to continue off of a great storyline. And honestly, as much as I love Shad's Mickie James right now, which is tough for me to say because I was very critical of it in the past, I think that he has done a wonderful job with the split personality issue. But that being said, Sid is one of the most cynical bitches I've ever seen in my life. Excuse my language, and it's amazing to read what you write, and I have to go with you. I don't see Shad being able to beat you.
Well, it's weird because how long ago was I just bashing men handlers handling female characters, and then I go and do it just to throw everybody off. But it started out as just a joke to see, hey, I'm going to just dominate everybody with a female character just to prove I can, just because I know my writing's that strong. And then it kind of turned into, blossomed into, I'm actually falling in love with this character and writing her. And then it kind of blossomed into, well, I can go here with her. Okay, I can go there with her. And now it's turned into a character that is my favorite to write with right now. That being said, I did do kind of a cheap shot, and Jay pointed out that I didn't know, because I don't read Mickie James, that the whole alter ego thing is all in Mickie James' head, which is something I pointed out several times in my role play. But I really don't read Shad, so I didn't know, and so I got to correct those two in my next two role plays. But I'm adding a lot more storyline in these next couple of role plays, which is something I don't do a lot with it, as you know. It's mostly just shoot from the hip. So that's going to be interesting to see how I fare against Shad when I'm doing that.
I'll tell you what, I mean, obviously I know where we've talked about where you're going with this storyline, and I'm very interested to see how it comes out. I will say this, out of anything, and this is going to be my only point on this topic, but as far as the insanity being in her head kind of thing, I think even though you don't really know that it's Alexis or whatever the case is in theory, which I understand that part, I still think that it's obvious that there's issues going on with Mickie James, so I wouldn't agree and say that you couldn't say anything about the split personality. I would definitely just say, you know, maybe it's not necessarily that you know it's Alexis, but if you see someone talking one way and then all of a sudden it's like a complete, I mean, they're either schizophrenic or I don't know. I don't know what else that could possibly be. So that's my thought process.
Yeah, I agree with that, but I think the storyline that I'm going with Sid right now really kind of humanizes her, if that makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
Which is something I really like to do with my character, especially like a character like her who has been so dominant. I want to kind of bring her back down to earth and show that she is human and play on those emotions for the judges. That's my plan for this Anniversary X. What's Sid?
By the way, there's a good segue into a role play tip of the week, which I remember we used to do that a little bit in the past, but humanizing characters I think is a very important topic and something I just want to spend a minute on right now. If you ever notice, the very best characters, and John, I know you would agree with me on this, are the ones that have flaws.
Yeah.
Flawed characters are more interesting because you're able to write weakness. It's just like in movies. You know, you look at a movie like Rocky, okay? One of my all-time favorites. Why was Rocky so lovable? Why was he so relatable? Because he was the underdog. He wasn't the smartest, he wasn't the fastest, he wasn't the best, but he was able to do things and overcome the odds. I think when you look at a character that, and there's been many examples of this, that is too much of Superman, or what do they say, Super Cena, so to speak?
Yeah, yeah.
You lose the desire to relate to that character. You look at a guy, and I'll use my character just as a quick example. You look at a guy like Dutch. Dutch obviously was very conflicted. He had a lot of problems. He has back surgery. He's in and out of the Fed for a while. It makes the character real, and it allows you to go in directions that you may not have thought of before. So for all those, up-and-coming E-Fedders that listen to the show, remember that humanizing a character is not a negative.
Yeah, absolutely. And honestly, the more flaws you have, the more you can, the more you can write with, and the more things you have. One of the best advice that I got as a writer, when you're writing for a character, think of the worst thing that you can do to the character and then do it to them. Think of the worst thing that can happen to that character and then do it to them. And that really helps you, it helps you feel for the character and it helps you write for them better. And B, it really gives you more things to write about and more directions to go, and that way you don't get yourself written into a corner.
Absolutely. Emotion is a wonderful thing to be able to play with and to invoke in your readers. And so is that why we castrated Derek Daniels?
I think so. Christy is the one who castrated Derek Daniels.
Got it. Maybe that's why. Never mind. Different story. Moving on. Continuing back up the card, we have the Anniversary X Tag Match Special, which is D-Generation X taking on Style and Pride. And I'll tell you, John, it's very nice to be tagging with you again. I had a great time when we tagged Dutch and Sid, but I have as much as I love Charismatic Fury, and in EWE lore, it's the most successful tag team in its history, I have a very soft spot for Style and Pride because, well, like I said, you're my best online friend, and you're my best student as far as e-petting goes, and we're almost unstoppable together.
Actually, touching on that subject, I would actually, down the road, I would love to see a Sid and Dutch tag team. I think that would be awesome.
It would be interesting.
So, but that being said, I really, I like to go against Jay's Triple H just because there's so much history behind that with him and I. It was one of my first big matches in EWE that I can remember way back when. So, I'm a cynical asshole with Derek Daniels, and that's kind of his old man. He's an old man now in a sense of talking in Federation terms and in EWE terms. So I kind of play him as that cynical old man. even though, by years he's not that old. But so I kind of let that show in my role play. But the role play that I wrote with their games, it flowed really well. So I'm looking forward to seeing the results and seeing how it turns out.
Completely agree. Nothing to take away because this is actually Abdul and Jay, of course, doing Triple H and HBK. I have a big history with Jay's Triple H as well with Dutch. I really am looking forward to writing my role play. I've got a few things planned out. I wish them the best of luck. I don't see them winning this match.
I mean, I'm not going to count them out, but with you and I writing especially because I felt, and I'm big on, I kind of have a gut feeling if I have a good role play or bad role play.
Sure.
When I faced you as Kashmir, I just knew that I was going to lose because I knew my role plays weren't strong enough. But I felt like the Derek Daniels was really strong. So if you bring it like you can, I think it's going to be really hard for them to beat us.
Totally agree. Next match.
That's swagger, baby.
Swagger. MMSW for life. Hey, we got to have pride in something, right? All right, moving up the card. We have the WrestleMania Destiny Series Special, which is going to be the elimination match. I call it a Battle Royal, but essentially that's what it is. It's a cluster match, which will feature all of the remaining members of the WMD series available to compete. I know Bray Wyatt has already gone in. I'm just kind of going off the top of my head who else is available. I believe Kelsey Parr is still in it, Alessandro, Christie, of course, CM Punk, Thunder Dragon, and, of course, everyone's favorite, Dustin Jobber. This is a tough one. This is tough. I really like the direction Chris has gone with the Bray Wyatt, although if I have any criticism, I think he sometimes puts a little too much into the backstory and not enough into the match, and I think that has hurt him a little bit. However, with that being said, I did read his first one for the match. I thought it was done very well. I know I plan on showing with DJ. I don't know if I'm going to bring it super, super hard, although indirectly I did write, in my opinion, a very strong role play for Chaos, which I didn't really intend to do, but the aftermath of the Dutch saga, if you will, of him tearing through the locker room was a lot of fun. So, I don't know, it's going to be tough. I know Christie is going to have a full role play. I'm sure Alessandro is going to show up, and Punk, and I don't know. Hard to pick a winner. Obviously, with me being in the match, I gotta give myself the nod. But realistically speaking, I'm probably gonna have to say Christie out of this one. I think she has the most to prove, and I know Jay really wants to get her back into the heavyweight title picture.
Well, I don't think Chrissy's in the match. I have the official. Oh, yes, she is. Never mind. I'm sorry. I should never doubted you. I looked over her name. It's Bray Wyatt versus Christy Chaos versus Dustin Jobber versus Kelsey Parr versus Mickey James versus Psychotica versus Thunder Dragon. That's the official match listing. I can't believe I looked over Christy's name, but yeah, it's gonna be Christy with Chris as Bray Wyatt right there, and I'll say that I really think that he's heating up with that Bray Wyatt character. That character is a really hard character to play, even if you are adapting from the WWE version. And I think he's kind of twisted it into his own. And once he comes around with it, I think he's going to be an undisputed title contender when it's all said and done. But right now, I don't think he's as polished with him. So yeah, I'm going to go with Christy as well.
I will say this, there is a rumor going around that it's not Chris, but actually Manny playing Bray Wyatt. I wonder if there's any truth to that rumor.
Don't know. Could be very interesting.
Yeah. If that is...
Maybe Mark.
You know what, though? I will say this. If that is the case, you know me personally, I don't care if it could be Ben, for all I know. Obviously, we don't know, to be exact, but whoever is writing the character, I agree with you. I think they're doing a good job, so it'll be interesting to see where it goes. And finally, that takes us to the big match of the card, the AnniVersary X Special, the Undisputed Championship, the Irish Fury Dutch Clark taking on White Tiger. John, I'll let you take this one away. There's not much I can say.
When you think of EWE as an E-Fed and you start naming off names, I think the two that you would say kind of dominated their eras is Dutch Clark and White Tiger, and why not have them face off at the anniversary show for EWE? You know, it's kind of like old meets new, even though I still consider you old because...
Ironically, I've been getting longer than Mike, so go for it.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, but as character-wise, this is the match that you have to have on this card. I mean, there's some other guys that can step in and do it, but you talk about all the success, you talk about the faces of EWE, and, you know, Dutch Clark and White Tiger are two that I would name 1 and 2 right together. The way that you're riding right now, it's going to be tough for Mike to beat, but we know Mike can pull out some great stuff when he wants to bring it. I know he's on kind of a time restraint sometimes, and I know he's kind of not lost his passion for it, but like if he doesn't want to role play anymore, he doesn't force anything. You know, he just says, well, I'm bored, I'm not going to show up, or I'm doing something, I'm not going to show up. But with that being said, I think you're going to take that one. I think it's going to be a close one. I've said that on every match, but I've taken the political answer on every match, but that one's going to be, it's going to be tooth and nail, but it's going to be a lot of fun because I know you both are old school, so you both will have some rebuttal in your RPs, which is going to be really fun to read for everybody.
I'll tell you, I fired the first shot today, and as of the recording of the show, and of course, you're right. I went a very old school approach with my first role play, which I very much enjoyed, and I think it leaves it very open. I know Mike is also very good at something that a lot of people overlook, which is flow between role plays. We talk about flow in role plays, and for those of you who don't know what flow is, essentially flow is just how the role play reads. If you have too many different scenes or too much stuff that just doesn't fit together, it doesn't flow. That's what flow, for all intents and purposes. It's a very old school saying, but it's exactly what it is. When you look at flow between role plays, or between tag teams for that matter, you have to have the ability to be able to go from one role play to another and be able to understand the story arc and be able to relate back. Whenever I judge multiple role play matches, I never put a score on a single role play until I've at least glanced and skimmed whatever amount of role plays there are. Only because you might miss something that might have seemed out of place in the first role play, but after you read the last role play, you realize, oh my God, that was a brilliant thing to write, and it makes the score better. Mike is very, very talented when it comes to linking role plays when he's motivated, and I know he is somewhat motivated right now. I am interested to see what his plan is versus me. I know I'm kind of at the end of my hot streak right now, which isn't to say I'm not. I feel I am writing very good. I don't think I'm writing as well as I was a couple months ago, but I still think that I'm doing very well.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
So and it's not so much the quality of writing for me. It's just, the story arcs I was in obviously have changed. So you got to play to your strengths. I look forward to seeing what happens. I believe I'm going to take this in the end. I hope I do at least. I would like to continue on with my reign. But Mike and I have had a very long history. Even back in 2005, he was one of my opponents with Jack Michaels. And, excuse me, he was always able to bring just a wide variety of role plays that always kind of took me by surprise. My only fear and concern for him is, as you said, I hate when he gets unmotivated and it's just a in the ring, means nothing kind of role play. So that would be my only concern. But other than that, yeah, I think it's going to be a great match. And John, I want to say I really do appreciate what you had to say. I completely agree. I think Mike was definitely one of the highlights, not only of the EWE lore of the entirety of the Fed, but definitely was the poster child of the early days from like 2004 to 2007, and Dutch has been from 2010 on. So yeah, it's gonna be fun.
Absolutely, and like I said, no better match that you can have than this one. So I mean, knock it. You guys should. Mike, I know you're gonna be listening. You guys knock it dead.
Thank you very much. Well, ladies and gentlemen, that's going to take us into the end of the show. We're going to be closing in on about the hour-and-a-half mark, so not too bad, John. We didn't hit the 2.5-hour mark.
We did not. That was, we kept it kind of, I guess, short and sweet, I guess you could say. But nonetheless, good job as always.
Thank you. Thank you. As you do a little lead into hopefully what our next show will be, which, knock on wood, will be somewhat soon down the road. We want to talk about the Best of the Decade Awards. Now, EWE in its 10-year history has had a lot of different talent, a lot of different handlers, and a lot of different superstars. Before we sign out, though, we are going to look at one of the categories and talk a little bit about it, which is the best of all time, the best males, best divas. And I know a little spoiler, I guess we could talk about it on the show, is the Handlers Hall of Fame as well. I know the words of that have gone around. I know we were kind of waiting to reveal who is going to be in the Handlers Hall of Fame, but you know what, John? I think maybe our show is just as good as any to reveal it on.
Oh yeah, absolutely. It's going to be really interesting to see. I know I have a ballot I haven't filled out yet. Don't tell Jay, but it is my birthday, and I told him nothing's going to get done today, so I may have to work on that a little bit. But it's going to be very, very fun to look and see all the names and matches and stuff that's going to be on that decade card or decade ballot.
Completely agree. Let's talk a little bit about the Handlers Hall of Fame now, which should give you guys a little bit of an idea of what to expect, at least on the best of the decade. 6 people have been chosen by a group of the judges and various personalities over the years to go into the Handlers Hall of Fame. These 6 have proven themselves in ways beyond what any Fed could expect over the years. I just want to briefly go over who it is. Number 1, John, you are one of the members of the upcoming Handler Hall of Fame.
Yeah, I'm very, very happy, I guess, to be nominated. I will say, I told Jay this, and I don't think I have a shot to win anything, maybe a couple, but I don't think I have a chance to win Male of the Decade. But I told him, my 4-time, undisputed champion. Shoot to the top as any time that I'm in, but I've only technically been in EW probably about 3 years total. So that doesn't line up to what other people has been in for years and years. But it was very interesting to see that I'm going to be on the ballot, and we'll see where it goes. But I think my history lines up with just about anybody else's on the card.
Completely agree, and obviously as a handler, you've handled numerous superstars in EWE, amassed many championships. You mentioned Derek Daniels. Do you want to just give a brief rundown of everyone you've handled?
RVD, Derek Daniels, obviously Leon Kashmir, and Sid Vicious. The Hurricane, my favorite character maybe to handle. Hooded Figure, Diesel. No, seriously, I think is that about it? No, Christopher Kincaid.
Yes.
Cyrus, I ran a luchador for a little while.
Pour some Pour some sugar on me.
Yeah, John Jobber and John North, which is the character based off of myself, who used to wear University of Kentucky clothing to the ring in my riding. Is that everybody?
I think that might be Yeah, I think that's about it. We might be
outside of EWU. I mean, I've had Ace Baldwin, but I think that's about it.
Well, Ace Baxter is pretty good, but
Oh God, here we go. That's why I'm never going to bring him in the EWU because that's all I'm going to hear.
That's a long-running in-joke with John and I, and anyone that knows the reason why I say that, it's hilarious, but that's another story for another time.
It's not hilarious.
It is. So yeah, and of course you handled Joe Puffs as well.
Yeah, absolutely.
That was a joint between us, but so that's you're one of the ones. Another one that's going to be going in the Handlers Hall of Fame is going to be Abdul. Abdul has handled many characters over the years, including Alessandro, Muhammad Hassan, John Cena, Alicia Q. Who am I forgetting? HBK.
I don't remember anybody. I can't. I'm blanking on him for whatever reason.
Definitely deserves to be in the Handler Hall of Fame. I think he has an opportunity to be selected the male of EWE. I can say that his John Cena obviously was immensely talented and immensely successful for his length of time holding the EWE heavyweight championship. Alessandro is definitely a possibility for the greatest of all time as well. If you look at his statistically, he's amazing. I think the only thing that hurts him is his no-shows over the recent years.
Yeah.
Recent months or whatever you want to say.
But I mean, he's one of the guys, as Alessandro won I'm pretty sure that he won every title at WrestleMania that one year.
Something like that, yeah.
Yeah, so, that's a big accomplishment, and he is a great writer. He has a very unorthodox style of writing that really works, that wouldn't work for anybody else but him, and that's something that you can't pass up on, and it's something that really goes into consideration, in my opinion, is his writing style.
Completely agree, and that's something I will say about John as well, is that John's writing style is very old school but very direct, and I have never read something by John where I literally was bored because I was reading it. So that's something that I think really comes through, and a reason why he's going to be in the Handlers Hall of Fame. Another member of the Handlers Hall of Fame is going to be Luke. Luke most famously handled Law in EWE. Also, I believe it was Edge at one time. Numerous other characters. Also was, mind you, the Handlers Hall of Fame is not just for characters you role-played as. It's also as a matter of people that are judges, match writers, etc., etc. John obviously is a very well-versed match writer. Just won 2 awards for his matches he was involved with. Writing it, the one he just wrote was the Money in the Bank, which was very impressive for 2013. I'm happy to say I had a couple spots in that, John. Whee!
Yep, absolutely.
So Abdul, of course, also running. I believe it was it Chaos he ran, or was it?
Yeah, I think it was Chaos. I don't know if I was I don't know if I was in the EWU then.
I think it was before you and I made our comeback, if I'm not mistaken. But
I don't have a lot of memory of Luke because I wasn't really in the Fed when he was there. I was there early when he was Law, but after that I really wasn't in EWE much.
No, we did feud with him as Edge, though.
Yeah, I remember that.
Yeah, so we did get to see him a little bit, and I've read some of his older stuff. He is an amazing writer as well. Of course, he also ran the Explosion show when we first came back in 2010, which he did a great job, good match writer, just like Abdul is also a fantastic match writer. I do want to mention that. So, big kudos out to Luke. Another member going into the Handler Hall of Fame is yours truly. I was very honored when Jay asked me if I would, be happy to be entered, and I can say that it's really, to me, it's a big accomplishment to be chosen out of, literally the hundreds of people that have handled characters and been as part of the judging staff.
Yeah, it's definitely. I mean, I know I bag on the Character Hall of Fame a lot, but being inducted in a Handler Hall of Fame is a lot bigger, and it's just it's something that I'm not going to put it on my resume, obviously, but it's something that I'm really proud to do after all the writers who have been through EWE to even be considered to be on that list is really big for me.
Absolutely. Real quick, I guess just a quick rundown. I've handled in EWE Will Westbrook, Jack Michaels, Dutch Clark, of course. Jonathan Steele was actually originally one of my creations.
Yep, and I brought him in.
Yep. So Dustin Jobber, of course, the White Knight, Dr. Quackerton Jr., which to this day is still probably my favorite character I've ever handled. The only inanimate object ever to win a title in EWE. That's a story I will love forever. Who am I forgetting, John? I know I've handled more people than that. I've done Ric Flair in EWE.
I'm trying to think too.
There's been several characters I'm glossing over here. I brought in Venom for some one shots.
Yeah.
But anyway, again, and of course I helped when Jay was on his hiatus there back in, I believe it was 2011. I ran EWE myself. I'm the only other person to officially run the site without Jay. Outside of Jay. So I was very, very proud of that fact. He had enough faith in me to do that. So very happy with that. I guess as of today, I'm still kind of his right-hand man as far as the site and judging goes. But even though I'm not
me.
Yeah. Even though I'm not officially his ladies' night correspondent or anything like that, but yeah, I do have a very good relationship with Jay, so I was very honored for that. Other member of the EWE Handler Hall of Fame is Mike. Of course, we glossed upon Mike earlier, all the characters he's handled over the years, and who he still currently handles for that matter. Mike is an amazing writer. He's done some great matches. He's storyline ideas. Currently he's handling Ladies' Night. I don't have anything really negative to say about him.
I mean, anybody listening to this, they know what Mike has done for EW. They know what he can bring to the table. And, we don't need to sit here and blow him up because he's all around nice guy and has been loyal to the EWE and been very good and successful. So, well deserved. If there's a one person that would be my first draft pick, I guess you could say, in EWE as a surefire handler Hall of Famer, it would be Mike.
I would agree with that, Steve. Well, I take that back. There's actually one other person that would rank higher than Mike, and that is the top billed member going into the Handler Hall of Fame. And John, I know you're going to agree with me most definitely. This person has redefined what it means to be a member of EWE, and that person is the wonderful Emerson. And Emerson...
Okay, yeah, okay. Okay.
Officer Ken Tyson shocks the world!
Yeah. Yeah. This is over. I'm dropping my headset.
No. In all seriousness.
I'm back.
In all seriousness, the last person going into the Handler Hall of Fame is the one who started this whole thing in John Mott. Jay has handled any character. Yeah, I will give him a round of applause. Without him, EWE does not happen. And we've glossed about him in the beginning of the show, and we will continue to gloss about him. His characters, his writing, his versatility, and his dedication, his graphic design, just everything has been spot on. And,
and gotten better over the years.
Yeah, it's everyone has their shortcomings, believe me. I know we've had our arguments, and John, I think you might have had an argument or two, Jay. I'm not sure about that, but you guys might not have seen eye to eye from time to time, but no, it's hard not to look at the whole. And again, if it wasn't for him, we wouldn't be doing the show. We'd be, most likely probably be reopening HPW at this point. But that's.
Oh yeah, we would already gave a Fed a go for sure.
But no, EWE is definitely our home. And Jay, I know you're listening to this right now. From the bottom of my heart, thank you so much for giving us the opportunity. I know when I came back in 2010, you immediately welcomed me back in and gave me an opportunity to enjoy the game again. And, for someone that's been doing this since the mid to late 90s, it's something special to say that you have a home.
Yeah, absolutely. And as many times as Jay and I haven't seen eye to eye, he's always welcomed me back and gave me a chance to express myself creatively, which is what all about now that I have to broadcast for a living. I don't broadcast for fun anymore, so I need somewhere else to release my creativity, and EWE is the place where I do it, and Jay does a fantastic job. There's no really other place that, I'd rather role play than right there in EWE, and that's all because of Jay.
Yes, indeed. Of course, I also masturbate a lot, so that helps my releases.
Oh my God.
I don't know. Can I say that on the air? I'd said it, oh well. On that note, ladies and gentlemen, that's going to take us to the end of the show. I want to say on behalf of everyone ever associated with EWE, thank you so much for listening. Thank you for tuning into us. And, John, I'm sure whenever we hear the compliments or people say that they're looking for it, to me, it feels good. It makes you feel wanted.
Absolutely, and I know people enjoy this, and I think it's one of our better shows. Doesn't have Mark on here cussing out, calling Chad a tranny and all that stuff, so I'm pretty glad. I'm sure Jay will enjoy the episode, and I'm glad everybody enjoys it. We may have some guests on if we do it again. I know D really likes to join us on here, and maybe one day we can get Jay to join us. He's talked about it in the past.
I have talked to him on the phone on a couple of occasions. He's definitely more, with nothing personal to Jay, he's definitely more communicative with his fingers than he is with his mouth, but that's okay. That's okay. I would love to have him on the show. And technically we did have a guest tonight because the beautiful Erica did join us, our EWE fan. So Erica, thank you very much for sitting in.
Thank you for having me.
I'm her favorite.
Yep.
Oh.
Sorry.
No. It's only because you're short and cute. I mean, it's not. If I was 4'11", she would love me.
I'm 5'6". Thank you very much.
Well, on behalf of John North and the beautiful Erica Forkel, I've been Dustin J. Markowitz. Thank you for listening. Good fight. Good night. I'm still ripping that off from Celebrity Deathmatch. Have a great one.